of the reasons that managers complain about incompetence in their own teams so often is laziness on the part of the manager. It's like easier to blame some member of your team without taking responsibility as a manager for what's happening with that team member. We don't take the time to break down what the problem is. We don't take the time to analyze what is the skill or the knowledge or the thing that is not being understood, the thing that's missing. Is there an overload? Is there information that the person is missing training? So we don't ask the right questions. We just like, okay, that person's incompetent, that person drives me crazy, etc., etc. But you have to stop and analyze, right? And look at the person in the different things and see what it is missing that you can replace so that you resolve the competence or the incompetence issue and the performance issue. Managers have to remember that it is their job to ensure that there are minimal issues on their teams and with the people that they are managing. They have to understand that they are responsible for each person's performance and then the performance, as I said before, of the team as a unit and how they collaborate with the bigger picture, with other teams, right? With other departments. So you're the supporting lead, right? You're not the action person. You have to create the right conditions that I explained in the last video so that your team have the best opportunity to perform well. If you've ever felt incompetent or been told you're incompetent or been criticized for something, you know already that feels really bad. So that's not the way to go. Nothing is more hurtful than finding out that people are talking behind your back, criticizing you, minimizing your work, not valuing you, passing you over. Managers who give like somebody's work to somebody else because they know that the other person's going to do it better. That's really humiliating to people. And not cool. And we must avoid that. And you're not helping anything. You're overloading one person and humiliating the other. And then mobbing, we have to be very careful. Mobbing is a fine line, right? Because if you don't like somebody on your team, even though you mightn't consider what you're doing as mobbing or as extreme as mobbing, if you're not fully including somebody and fully supporting somebody, then you need to rectify that. There's a human way to give corrective feedback. It's an art, giving feedback that each manager must learn. And the sandwich is not a way, right? When you say to somebody, oh, you're great and you did that really great, but, people hear the but coming and they will always remember the negative, particularly if they're not very confident, okay? So your job as a manager as well is to make people feel confident, right? You want to get the best out of people, right? Not the worst. So never complain about your team to other managers. If you need to vent your frustration about whatever, do it to somebody outside of the project, never to somebody on the same team. Never criticize one team member to another team member. That just, you lose credibility. And even if you do it to another manager, right? Maybe you're talking to another manager and you're having a cup of tea or whatever and you're complaining, things get back to people. And projects, programs, capitals, HQs are gossip centers. So be careful what you say, right? You need to kind of protect the reputations and the credibility of your team. And also it's a reflection of you. How you talk about your team really says more about you than about your team. How you manage competence issues is a reflection of how good a manager you are, how competent you are. A good manager knows how to manage different levels of competence to make the team perform as well as possible. It's a bit like car racing, right? You have a team that know exactly how to fine-tune each piece of the car so that the car goes as fast as possible and performs as well as possible and has as few mechanical issues as possible. It's the same with a team. You're fine-tuning, but as a unit. Most managers forget, as I said, that they're the ones for making sure that their team is performing well, and they forget that they are the ones that need to create and provide the environment for that. Having favorites or having conflict with your team as a unit or individuals on your team where you decide, okay, I'm not going to share information, that's really just counterproductive. If your team doesn't like you, doesn't respect you, or sees you as incompetent in a way, in something that matters, right? Because maybe you're very competent in some things, but incompetent in the way you talk to them, you will not be credible as a manager. Yeah, this happens a lot, no? And the manager is clueless, is oblivious that the team has this opinion of them, like the emperor's new clothes, no? The only person that doesn't know that he or she has a competency issue is themselves, no? And they've lost the confidence of their own team, and their own team doesn't respect them. Everybody else knows except the manager. This is a situation that's too common, and it shouldn't happen really, because the manager of the manager should already know before it gets to that point. So if you have that situation with your team where your team no longer respect you, your manager, if you're oblivious, should already have told you and rectified in time. Same goes if you're managing somebody who is also a manager of a team and you know that team doesn't respect them. Instead of feeding that, you need to correct it before it gets worse and tell the manager and help the manager to improve. Yeah. So it's a situation that should never happen. You have to understand how the person functions and how they behave. And this is all about emotional intelligence. And you can't work enough on emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is one of the most important skills in a manager. And it's a skill, and they are skills and competencies that can be learned and improved. But you have to know what they are, and you have to know how to do it. Emotional intelligence is the most important thing that will make you a great manager and leader. Low emotional intelligence is a type of manager who blames others for things, no introspection, not very reflective, and has difficulty understanding how other people will feel, and doesn't work on their kind of interpersonal relationship building skills.